You talked about being rushed. Ghana and Dala, that's where I learned the value of just going with it. Because when you're in those spaces at times, there's not much you can do to change the outcome.
There is not much you can do to change the outcome. So, where does that mindset come from?
The mindset of, well, one,
Being
I look
okay
at
with being okay with going with it, and just understanding that the outcome you can't control. So, where does that come from? And being at peace with that.
mm, that's a great question. On my side, it's a practice, really. Waking up, going through my spiritual exercises of meditation, prayer, and sitting with it. And oftentimes I have a mantra with me that I carry. And whenever I feel friction, I will repeat that mantra and remind myself to really lean into what's happening right now, trusting that everything that is happening is for my benefit.
You want to share that mantra? Is it personal? Or is it something that you just like? You got to get your own mantra.
It changes daily. So it's more of a practice. So I think about it as working out, right? Some days you do back and shoulders, other days you do chest and tries. So I wake up in the morning and I digest a wisdom book. That wisdom book could be the Bible, it could be the Tao Te Ching. And then from that book, I draw something. And whatever it is I draw, I hold in my mind and repeat it whenever I feel not at ease.
So, for those of you who are tuning in, this is the House of Boom podcast. I'm your host, Eric Boom Salvery. We done already started a conversation. It's not our traditional intro, but that's okay because we're going with it as my guest, Mawulom Nene. See, it took me a while to say that last name right, and I might have still said it wrong, but he's in the building. We're pressed for time, so we're very transparent on this podcast. So it is what it is, but we go with the flow. And so how you doing today? You're in sunny San Francisco ish area. What's going on with life with you right now?
Oh, yeah. So we are about 45 minutes outside of San Francisco. And it feels good, brother, man. It's great to be here. I'm grateful that you're creating this space for us to connect. How am I feeling? I'm feeling grounded, poised, and balanced, and extremely fortunate for my disposition. What's going on in life? Lots of things are going on. We have practice going on for our children. We have personal and professional growth. My partner is actually traveling this week, so I'm in full dad mode, and that is yielding quite a bit of just life lessons and meaningful moments with people that I love dearly.
So we're in the age range where a lot of people have kids that we know. I don't got no kids, but I got a lot of nieces and nephews and godchildren, and all that good stuff. And though we don't consider ourselves niche per se, we're more, a very diverse podcast. What is one lesson in this parenthood space that you're in currently with, I guess, emerging teenagers that you would like to share, or one sentiment that you would think that anybody in your space range, whether it be a mother or a father, could relate to?
It's a good one. Sentiment. Seek first to understand. And I'm going to talk this out. So that's what comes up first. But what's next is more so build a high trust relationship, build a connection. And that sentiment of a safe space, psychological safety, physical safety, where the people that you love, your children, can come to you and share things, that however you create that, I think it's extremely value added, and nurturing that over time works well. You talk about emerging teenagers. These are humans that are seeking autonomy. They're seeking to make their own decisions. They're going to break the rules. That's the nature of them. They're going to push the boundaries. I'll be surprised if they didn't. So having that safe space where they can come back and share with you thoughtfully, to me, that's the sentiment that I'm attempting to articulate. Never any advice, just where I am. That's where I get the most joy.
So, our producer, Baif, you may not see his face to the end of this or whatever, but you may see him on live. You follow me at the House of Boom podcast, at the house underscore of underscore boom underscore podcast. A lot of underscores, but listen, it just makes life easier. You might see him as we had a conversation about blue checks and all that good stuff last week. But I feel like this is all relative when you're talking about parents and stuff like that. As he is a parent, and this is not. We do take shots at each other here on the House of Boom podcast, but this is not a shot. He was running late today because he was dealing with his son and some stuff for homework. So I feel like he would have a good interjection right here, and you can just chop this up to produce a segment question. But I feel like his interjection would be golden right here, as he's kind of in the same area you're in right now.
Oh man, that's fire. I didn't even think uh, we would get into it, but as he said,
Can you hear him? Malone, can you hear him?
Oh, I can hear him loud and clear.
Okay,
And
okay.
I
Just want to make
last one,
sure.
by
Just
the
want to
way.
make sure. Well, go ahead. Go ahead. My bad.
yeah, but he said, let's go with it. So I'm gonna go with it. What I wrote down so far is seek first to understand and building a high trust relationship as a dad. How did you? When did you? How did that become part of your awareness? One, building a high trust relationship with a kid. That's not my bag. In terms of like how I was raised was the absolute opposite of that. And I find myself in a space where, as a dad, I'm less do what I said and more, I don't know. But that definitely struck me as like, wait a minute, how did you become aware that a high trust relationship was something that was needed as a dad?
Thank you. And I love how you trailed off with the I don't know, because that's the kind of dad I am as well. It might be value added to give you some context. One, we have three familiar principles. Values tend to lead to morality, so we go to principles, foundational elements. One, respect yourself. And respect yourself so that you can carry yourself in a certain way, respect yourself so that you can move around the world and wear the clothing that you want in a certain way, respect yourself so that when you're prodded, you can respond accordingly. And number two is lead with kindness. I grew up in a very nice environment where niceness was more a commodity, and leading with kindness requires that you're thinking, that you're aware of the games that the world may be playing. And the lastly is develop your talents. And a talent is described or defined by whatever it is that you're interested in. So if you're interested in art, give yourself 12 months, play for 12 months, see what happens. If you're interested in soccer or lacrosse, give yourself 12 months, commit to it, and see what works there. So those were the three principles that my partner and I aligned on. And we've been using them as a way. First, it was a way to really parent without often raising our voice. It's easier to talk to someone, a child, and say, hey, are you respecting yourself? And ask the question rather than to come at them with information. You asked about how. I think it was a mixed. I've been an entrepreneur for a while, starting various companies, and I studied biomedical engineering, which gave me an understanding of how to reason from first principles. So I wanted to really understand how you build culture. And at the different environments I've been in, whether it's my large extended family or the various companies and startups, um, understanding and seeking to learn more about why people are so bought in, how to capture the hearts and minds of individuals, why certain small groups of individuals in any environment or community tend to bond. That is what led to these items. And so I can't quite give you the straight path, but I will say I have a job description for myself as a dad. It gives me guidance and frameworks. My partner does not. She just likes to go with the flow. Um, and on that note, it's really based on what it is that I desired as a kid. I thought about the environment that I came up in and what I would like for my children. I wanted them to just feel safe. I wanted them to just feel loved. So there are periods in their childhood where we would play these games and I would remind them that there's nothing they can do to earn my love, right? Like just by being who they are, I love them. Where I would set this rule where you can come to dad and tell dad anything. So if you rode your bike into my car by accident, if you came and told me before I found out, there's nothing I could do but just talk to you. So those are the games that we played. And one, it was to create a strong relationship with them. And two, to give them a sense of safety so that no matter what the world gave to them, they can come back and work with me to game plan and get back out there.
Appreciate it. That was more than a chock full of gems. I'll be honest. And it says a lot. There's a lot of stigma surrounding dads in general, especially black dads or dads of melanated uh, origin. So to have an aware dad, I don't think the world gets a chance to really see that often, especially how it plays out. Like dads and husbands are like the fool, the butt of jokes, things like that in public, like in the social norm, the social construct, like stupid old dad, he can't do anything, right? But I think it's so dope to see like really conscious dads that care about how their kids show up in the world more so than barking a bunch of rules and do what I say, like as if they're not on their own journey. You know what I'm saying? Like that's pretty dope. Thank you.
Welcome wholeheartedly and great question. A number of gems dropped there as well. I will say I have some friends where growing up, their dads wouldn't let them watch shows like The Simpsons because of the narrative that a father could be aimless and still provide for their family. So I think that's a narrative that I guess saying that to say that I've been surrounded by really great influences and individuals and people that allowed me to see the results of their actions and determine whether or not, hey, that's a direction or a characteristic that I want to develop or one that I want to move away from. And as a father, I feel extremely fortunate. Our children are extremely easy. Um, and despite the many challenges that are present daily, we've created systems that allow us to reduce the overall emotional flexion points. And that nurtures the connection that I seek and my partner seeks as well.
So this is clearly turned into the Father's Day episode of the House of Boom podcast. So this would be a great weekend to premiere this. Fathers never get enough love, anyways. So that's just something. Room. No, we don't have to wait till Father's Day. Let's not do that. Let's not stigmatize it. But yeah, man, this has been a dope thing. I'm not in that sphere yet, but like I said, I've got plenty of nieces and nephews and things that I can and take this impartation and pass it down to them. Especially there was that key point of not being the dad that says don't barking rules and just saying don't do what I do or something or just do this way, and allowing yourself to be present. How do you balance the time? Because I think we find ourselves in a space where we want to be conquerors, or we want to accomplish that ambitious thing that's in our mind, and at the same time we want, again, as Wife kind of alluded to, melanated brothers. Sometimes the world can be a little bit more heavier on us, and we don't want to be absentee. So how do you find a balance between those two? Because me knowing you the way I do, you are ambitious. You know, a year ago you were living in Maryland. Years before that you were in Jersey. You're here and then you're there, and you know, not without proper calculations, you've been able to move around and do some things that you really want to do. So how is that?
That's a phenomenal question. And in terms of time management, it's an iterative process. I get better and better just through challenges. I look at it as similar to working out. You meet your boundary, right? You may start off and you're maxing 225 of the bench. And then a year later or 2 years later, depending on the work you're putting in, you start maxing 315. So for us, it started with first family meetings, meetings that my partner and I had to plan. And those turned into meetings where we brought the kids in. I'll tell you, at one point when we were living in the Bay, maybe half a decade ago, my time was limited in terms of the amount of time I spent with our children, and I started doing reviews where I would just simply ask them like, "Hey, what do you want Dad to do more of? What do you want Dad to do less of?" Write those things down, and then add those specific items to my days and the evenings to ensure that I was getting the most value from them and them from me. Now the arcs have changed a bit where my partner and I still have our meetings. However, we bring the kids in on the bi-monthly or times quarterly for specific chats. We plan our year out in December, sometimes in January. And you described some timing of moves, and the timing is incorrect, but it works well because I know this is public information. The part of that, it was something I was actually really nervous about. We were making a 10-year plan. And as a father, I wanted to be consistent and show that I can be a stable force. And so I wanted to plan just me and my partner, and she wanted the kids involved. And eventually the kids were involved. And so we created this 10-year plan where we were going to move from the East Coast to the West Coast, stay in one area for an extended period of time so they can develop their talents, connect with the community, go through certain schools. And that was a little concerning for me as a father because there's a lot that goes into that. So because of the system that we have where we set expectations with each other, we have communication. If something doesn't work or align, we talk and share why. I believe we've been able to build that muscle. And even today, part of why our timing works this way is because of a commitment that I have with our older daughter. And so I build that muscle by planning, um, reflecting on what worked, what did not work, and replanning. So much is learned in that reflection, just sitting down at the end of the week, which would be Saturday for me, and thinking about, hey, what did I get done for my list? What didn't work? Where was the friction? Where do things feel rushed? And then thinking and living in the moment of what can we do next week? And then building next week's schedule to start from Sunday in that moment. I say all that, but there's always an awareness that things shift. And at times, wifey would wait outside my door. We share a calendar, and if there's nothing on it, she might just add something there.
Mm. So I think you said you are entrepreneur. You help tech company startups, correct?
Yeah. So the focus is on talent acquisition, human capital management,
Mm-hmm.
simplest form, work with tech companies to build their recruiting infrastructure, how they hire, qualify, how they find people. And on the other side, building an employee life cycle that keeps people first. So what do we do to get engagement? Go ahead. You're about to say something profound.
No, I was just gonna say, I think we created Yelp Your Dad, Yelp Your Mom, through Rotten Tomatoes Your Dad tech company. So that's coming to you soon. You heard it here first because he clearly just said he allows his kids to judge him, and ask him where he can get better and what they didn't like, and Wait, what is it? How does Rotten Tomatoes work? If the score, if it gets a lot of Rotten Tomatoes, it's bad, but if it gets low scores, it's good. So
It's been so long. I think that's the way it is.
yeah, so
Yep.
hopefully your score is pretty high, but you can continue going down the road of the talent acquisition and everything that you do right now, just so people can kind of get a rough view.
I want to go back to that Rotten Tomatoes. That's something that you share. That's amazing. I view feedback as a metric to see where you are. If you imagine driving a car, um, if you want to go 70 miles per hour, but you're going 80, looking at the overall speedometer is feedback. And then you can use that feedback to step on the brake a little bit, and vice versa. If you want to go faster, but you're going slower, you can use it to do the other thing. So at times it can be difficult to receive feedback. On my side, I personally have felt the impact of just dispassionate conversation when a child, oftentimes children will tell you something very honestly because they want something. They want to play Legos. And if you're not playing Legos because you're working, you don't care about them. It doesn't matter that you're working for a purpose. And so I say that with the understanding that the Rotten Tomato score and the feedback in general should just, I use it as a way to just see this is where I am. And then I have other tools and things that I can use to either lean into it or lean out of it as necessary. We are 2 minutes from my go time, and I hear quite a bit of noise outside. Do you hear that noise as well?
No,
Are you picking that up?
not on this side.
Oh, perfect. So would you like me to end this with what I do in tech, or would you like me to
No, tell
come
them what
back
you
on the
do.
parent side?
Tell them what you do in tech, and then when we have time, we will revisit it and then expand upon this conversation. Because I feel like there's enough nuggets packed in within this 30 minutes that
Same.
people will want to come back and hear more of what we have to talk about.
Perfect. So in tech, I build talent acquisition infrastructure that allows companies to hire and scale their overall team. I advise founders on everything from difficult conversations to compensation. And that's really it. Building a company, running it, and launching it. It's a positively challenging situation.
Mhm.
Let's use those words. And so having individuals that are supporting you through their knowledge base works well. And I'm proud to say that there's a whole lot that I don't know when it comes to the recruiting stuff. I tend to do a lot of experimentation, and that enables me to innovate, which also means I fail quite a bit, right? Innovation and experimentation go on hand in hand, but it also means that you're going to take enough long shots where some of it doesn't work well, but the ones that do work well, ideally you'll lean into those. That's a very long answer.
It's a very long answer that we will gratefully and gracefully come back to expound upon in the near future, very very near future, and though like we talked about, this conversation went a different way. I thank you for coming, and I look forward to what's next. And so this has been an encapsulated, shortened version of the House of Boom podcast. But guess what? Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Eric Boom Salvery, and we are out. Peace.
Peace.